the urbanization challenges that we are encountering also affected South Africa as well. And the second issue is to see things happening in urban centers. Then the rural-urban migration also started to follow. The whole disinvestment on infrastructure in rural areas, as well as the historical facts that agriculture is one of the very difficult sectors of economy. And many of the generations that now came into being were not necessarily generationally linked to indigenous practices of agriculture. And I think that is one, to me, that has captured the mind of the new 21st century young person. That agriculture was not a fashionable thing. Agriculture is that punishing subject I don't want to relate with. And I think this is the issue that I believe we need to go back and correct in the mindset of the people. I think reconscientization is becoming the key theme. Absolutely, we've acknowledged as a historical reality that we need to go back to agriculture, we need to go back to land, we need to work on land to produce and ensure that also agriculture is part of the value chain, is part of the agribusiness. You can be an entrepreneur, you can also having good investment, well-packaged programs of government, support the smallholder farmers, support the cooperatives, ensure that they also have capabilities and capacity to produce, market, and also to be part of the whole production value. I think if SG can add on that one, but I think those are the issues which to me becomes quite critical.
SG, we will also come in at some point. The other question that I wanted you to address, we know about Magwa and Majola tea estates. There is a question on the tea estates later on. I don't want you to address it now. But yesterday, in your speech, you introduced a new product, a proudly Eastern Cape product called Super Maize Meal, produced, packaged, and sold in the province, or very soon will hit the shelves of this province. I saw a presentation also that you made where you talking about plans to revive the sugar production in the province. And that's the story that's leading our supplement this morning. Just talk to us about those plans of reviving, this sugar production. Don't deal with Magwa and Majola at this stage, because there is in fact, my follow-up is on Magwa and Majola.
Yes, as far as I know, since 1986, when the North Pondoland sugar came into existence in the then Transkei, and I think there was a conscious effort by the then government to ensure that that land is engaged to produce number of tons of sugar cane. And indeed, number of cooperatives were established, and those that were contracted for transportation of the same, taking the tons of sugar cane to the milling plant, which I believe was in Mzimkhulu. And a number of people were employed. This is a multi-billion industry in South Africa. But in the Eastern Cape situation, I think by 2008, when the land claim program started, the internal conflicts between traditional leaders as well as property associations that claim the same land grounded that particular production development to a halt. And as a consequence of that, there was disinvestment in the area. 700 jobs were lost. 60 million annual turnover for that same sector was also not there. And 40 million that could have been derived to date by the provincial revenue also was dashed. And I think if, as I've engaged South African Sugar Association last week, they are still showing commitment to go and re-engage the same communities as long as we can attend and address these limitations. And I think when it comes to land reform program, that area claimed the land, indeed, the claim has been validated, and the process of completing that program is now afoot. And I believe we have to go back and engage traditional leaders as well as property associations, the cooperatives that were there, because there were a lot of other amenities that were derived out of the proceeds of that particular sector in that particular area. Your schools, your community, early childhood centers, and so forth. And there was about also for the establishment of stadiums in that area because of that industry that was operational. So I think Ilovo, for instance, came to that meeting saying they were already partnering and people were much more better. And because of 2008 incident, nothing else could have happened. But I think now the opportunity is still open for that same community to reconnect with sugarcane industry development. And I think that is what we are going to take. We've agreed last week, working with same sugar companies, to say we need to go back there, facilitate community facilitated process where traditional leaders, local government structures that are there, traditional leaders, land claimants, and to say this is one of the possible ventures that we can still do going forward. And I think there is positive receival of those news. And I think we have to lead.
Okay, thanks. SGCO, what are some of the timeframes we're working with here on reviving this this industry?
Yeah, we are talking about starting that consultative process this financial year, 2015-2016. And when we have secured the land, because the issue there is to secure the land, to ensure that the communities agree to the use of the land for that purpose. You must be aware that in that particular area, we're talking about 10,000 hectares. And there is an additional 4,000 hectares that can be available. And if you include going down towards the Lambas, there is quite a lot of land that you can develop for sugarcane in that area. But what is critical for land development is that you must get the community resolutions to say that that land is available for that. So this year will be used for the consultative processes.
Thank you. Okay, I come to Magwa now. Fortunately, Athol is also here, and let's discuss this thing once and for all, and bury it. Last year, we were entertained as the province. You offered Athol a cup of tea inside the chambers. I think he accepted, visited Magwa, came back with an uppercut and offered you an empty cup of tea. But this is serious business. I mean, these tea estates, you know, unfortunately have become, you know, sort of like a political football game by the ruling party and the opposition. You know, you keep accusing one another and all of that. Should we, after all these years, Patiswa, be still talking about crafting a plan to save Magwa? You know, for as long as I can remember, it's been a plan after a plan. Those that were before you, those that came before you, we're also talking about plans. Yesterday you spoke another plan, about another plan to rescue this tea estate. Surely we can't still be talking about plans, MEC. There were plans back then. What's stopping us from implementing those plans?
Thank you very much. I think between me and Honorable Throlip, we have a same understanding that we need to have a plan to resuscitate the tea estates in the province of the Eastern Cape. And surely I must indicate here that the dispensation that governs these two tea estates are not the same. After the liquidation of these two estates, Majola Tea Estate in Port St. John's was handed over to workers' trusts, 100% owners. It therefore means it's not a company that is run by government. Workers are employers, and workers can hire and fire at the same time. That is the implication. When such a company is collapsing, the different regimes are applied. It's a question of those that are constituting that trust to say we go to our own government with a rescue plan themselves, like all companies in the province that we are now assisting because of the world economic outlook and climate. Majola belongs to the owners, and the owners are clear. There is no shareholding certificate from anyone else except themselves. I think the CEO will elaborate and amplify that point. When it comes to Magwa, Magwa is a private entity, Pty Limited, of course, with 100% of its shares kept by our ECDC. It therefore means if you intervene in such situation, you must follow law. The Companies Act is quite clear. You're supposed to go to the High Court of the land or for the order to be issued before you can designate any other person to be in charge of the affairs. That's why we said it is now imperative that both entities do agree that government now must come over. But we can't simply do that outside the legal mandate, because I cannot simply go straight to a company which is supposed to administrate its own affairs according to Companies Act and take over such leadership. And hence we are now having a business rescue plan. This is where we are. Another dimension about these dear states is that what happened in the early 90s when the whole world, and South Africa in particular, was open to the world market, the production cost per kg tilted. The cost of tea in South Africa became much more expensive than tea we receive from Kenya, for instance. Our own seashores, when it comes to the trade regulations, we were open to the flurry of other tea tastes that South Africans were opened to. And as a consequence of that, we could see in the shelves of our own retail stores, number of well-packaged different assortment of teas. Abantu bakwazi uzifunela le iti na le iti na le iti. And when it comes to our own local production, unfortunately, it was knocked off by the reality that the cheap products from abroad were also finding expression in the market within the borders of this country. And that is one of the key things. It's not about government failure, but it's because we have opened the economy for competitiveness, and that also affected without protecting the local production. And I think that's what now we are working on. And the second issue is the cost of labor. In the context of South Africa, the issue of labor and the cost as against to a cost per kg and cost of labor is serious. We might be paying more for less production. That's another thing that we have now realized. And all of those who runs the tea estates, remember the demand for salaries, the demand of this has collapsed also that institution. There is no board there. They had to leave. There was war on the ground of Magwa, and senior managers were expelled, and that left an institution leaderless since 2008, as far as I know. Nobody was prepared to go and work there. So the expertise that were required, no chief financial officer, no corporate services manager, no chief executive, no governing board. That is why we thought it is important that we go and engage with the workers of that institution and ensure that together with Magwa and Majola, we can have an arranged process. It is not as easy as I can see. Can I request CEO just to conclude that area?
Yeah. On Magwa, it is important to underline that it must be run as a business. The background is that Magwa, I think the way it was introduced from 1964 during the times of homelands, it was more like to be a job creating instrument and to make the homelands attractive. And that mindset has not left Magwa. It has changed administrations from the Matanzima administration, from the Olomisa administration, until the democracy. That mindset of this is an employment creation agent and not a business has been with Magwa for a long time. Magwa can be profitable. When the turnaround strategy was effected by ECDC in 2004, it showed a break even in 2008. But there we abused the rights and the entitlements of labor, where people went on strike and did everything that destroyed that. So now, the issue now is that the current people that are employed in Magwa see government as their employer, and yet it is not correct. even though ECDC is a 100% shareholder, the company itself is registered in terms of the DTI Companies Act. So it should run independently as a profitable entity. So what we are saying is that in the turnaround strategy, unless you bring in those principles that this is a business, it's not like a public works public works program of job creation. It's not, it should not be run like that. It must be run as a business entity. And this turnaround strategy that we're advocating now is that you put a businessman there and you make that Magwa run as a business and not just as a job creation. It's a big industry. So that's our approach in this turnaround strategy.
Commit yourself, CEO. When do we fully implement this business rescue plan? Let's have a date. I mean, let's say here by the 31st of March 2016, this plan would have been fully implemented.
Yeah. In the statement that the MEC has made, he has said we have engaged other departments. We have engaged Department of Treasury, the OTP, ECDC did it, and out of that, it's not easy to announce that now, because you must know that we have said ECDC is the 100% shareholder of that entity. So until you have got ECDC and you have got an established board, you would not be able to make that announcement. On our side, what we are pushing is the establishment of the board, is the establishment of a legal framework, the appointment of the administrator by the High Court, and that one is we've put it before cabinet. So that once we got the cabinet decision to say we are endorsing this approach, that is when we can make the announcements, and we hope that that should be within the first quarter of this coming financial year. We should be able to make that announcement once those has been decided.
So we can expect an announcement by the end of June.
Yeah, on the future.
On the future. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Two last questions from me, Patiswa, before I open the floor. One other thing that I picked up from your speech is your willingness to invest in these colleges. You spoke about the investment that you are making to Fort Cox and the fact that we have reopened the doors of Tsolo Agricultural College. You've dealt with that one. But to me, it talks to the whole issue of making agriculture and farming cool again to young people, bringing young people, the ones that are coming after us, so that working this land. The other thing that you are doing is you've committed that you are going to be sending young people to Germany, to be taught by the Germans how to farm and all of those things. Talk to us about that program. But when you do that, please assure us we are not going to be sitting with the same problem that the MEC of Health in this province is battling with, where we spend millions and millions of rands sending young, bright medical students to Cuba, and when they qualify, they refuse to come back and work in the Eastern Cape. So when we send these young people to Germany, how are we going to make sure that they come back and they work in this province and we see the benefit of the investment that we've made?
Thank you very much once again. I think our commitment to support agricultural colleges in the province is really very much significant, and that's why we thought it is important also to open the doors of Tsolo Rural Development Institute, which is going to focus mainly on animal health significantly, because Fort Cox is also addressing issues of forest development as well as crop production. And I think the complementarity of the two institutions and the production of knowledge is quite critical to sustain the economy that we are speaking about. Eastern Cape is the head leader of animals when it comes to cattle, sheep, and goats, and so on. And if we've got a shrinking capacity to attend and address either sicknesses, vaccination, the measurements of addressing our pastoral management and so on, is going to be critical. And we thought it is important that we need to reinvest quite vigorously and seriously in these entities of education. We don't foresee any threat when young people are skilled. The threat is when they are unskilled and they will then become a burden of the state. But if their own state of development is contributing to the development of the country, that is what we need to invest. When it comes to Hanover and Douala, we visited Germany as part of the Eastern Cape program, partnering with one of the provinces in Germany, Lower Saxony, as part of the agri-sector. I was there together with a team from the province and some of the municipalities to sign and refresh the agreement that was reached during the times of the first premier of this province. And indeed, we are going to reap the proceeds of such. I think by the month of June 2015, we want to see, because Germany, after its own unification, having its fair share of challenges and troubles, they also invested in agriculture hugely. Areas of engineering, artisanry, agriculture, and all related agribusiness technologies is by far. And we visited those institutions, and our embassy there in Germany currently, a former premier of this province, who is also facilitating that kind of work. We are going to identify young people across the length and breadth of the province to be the first attachment of young people to go and be enrolled. For instance, Douala is a college similar to what we are offering in terms of our own senior certificate, not necessarily higher education. Yes. That country is receiving students across the world when it comes to that college. And they are starting from the first entry grade, and the learner would live as a fully fledged agronomist, if I may say, fully comprehending with the issues of engineering function in the whole value chain of agriculture. And that's why we thought, because they said, because of our own bilateral agreement, they are also giving full support to subsidize our own students from South Africa, Eastern Cape in particular. They can go and stay there. And hence, again, when it comes to Hanover, we've identified our own staff members, especially in the extension services, to go and link up with the extension work that the Germans are doing, which they are serious about agriculture. Wall to wall, town to town in that particular country, you'll see agricultural activities. Trucks moving goods and services from one center to another. And that is an indication of a well-placed priority that agriculture is an anchor pillar of their own economy. And that's why we have signed that agreement. We are processing now the kinds of those consignment of students who will be now well assessed, evaluated, so that we can send back the kinds of skill that we want to be polished using that particular program. When they come back, our own policy supposed to have, we agreed on a policy review, that we need to have a serious clause that says if you receive, as we are doing with veterinarians that we have taken to Pretoria University, if you come back having been given 100% subsidy as we are doing as a province, you've got a particular time that you have to invest in rural areas, because rural development is part of our component, working either with our own communities in order to pay back with the time, knowledge, and skill that we have acquired. And I think that is a common practice. We've seen the weaknesses in the health department when people, after they've graduated in these countries, they come back, but they don't want to be associated with the same provinces that supported them. And I think we are also working on that now.
Last question. I think the benefit of having a young MEC and making, I think we're seeing the benefit, you know, of having a young MEC being responsible for agriculture. You've made, you know, working the land, farming and agriculture very fashionable. I don't know about you colleagues. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You know, please check these social platforms every weekend. You will see people posting pictures, you mentioned it, of them working in their own backyard gardens, vegetable gardens, community gardens. There's one big revolution out there, MEC. Well done, well done. But how do we take it forward? how do we take it forward and sustain it? Because like you were saying, I mean, some of them are professionals in their own right, but people are actually growing their own food, their own, their small gardens. But how do we sustain it and take it forward? That's my last question. Then after that, I'm going to ask Athol to ask the first question.
I think one of the key philosophies of life, I believe, if we are investing in people themselves as their own liberators, to me, is the key engine of any success. The problem is to governmentalize everything. People are able to connect and ensure that when they are hungry, they can get food. And when you say to them, address that matter yourself, government must come and facilitate environment. But basic things first is to ensure that you have a conscious being that tells you that you're hungry and you must be productive enough to feed yourself first. And if you've got more, you can help others. If that society is also adequately addressed, you can take your food to the market and you can make a value out of that. And I think making agriculture one of the valuable industries, ensuring that people can use it as a platform to change their own economic situations is quite critical. Young people, therefore, I think need to attend and address the issue that them too are supposed to be that kind of pillars of society. Yesterday, I put up a matter on my timeline to say, if mine workers are able to buy inkomo, bazithumele emakhaya, why can't we buy poles in order to fence our own homes where we are coming from, for instance? Simple things. Fencing today must be provided by government, even if I'm working. And I'm trying to say, if we can't change the mentality of thinking that someone else must come and solve my problem without me participating, definitely sure we are creating a deformity for future.
Thank you so much. That's the MEC for Rural Development and Agrarian Reform. We'll take your questions now. All those who want, who have a question to ask, please just indicate by a show of hands, and then I'll note you. I'll take maybe 4 questions in the first round. I just want to acknowledge the mayor of Elundini. She joined us just before breakfast. Enkosi kakhulu mama for joining us. Do you have any questions? I see Usisi right at the back there. She's wearing locks, if I'm not mistaken. And then we'll take Usisi Longlebe as number 3, Longlebe Pachi, that's black and white. Then we'll take from this table, Umamalo, Uputige will be number 5. Athol 1, number 2 there, number 3 here, number 4 in this table, and then number 5 for Tatalo.
Thank you very much, Bongani. MEC, I don't think any sane person or anyone in this room would gainsay your position on the importance of agriculture to this province's economy and job creation, and especially the sentiments you had in your final closing comments. Yesterday and today, you mentioned 2 important issues with regard to agricultural production. Firstly, partnership with government, private sector, and commodity organizations. And secondly, land, the sustainable productivity of land, conservation of land as a finite resource, and also ownership equaling or resulting in proper productivity. And then your colleague, MEC Somyu, yesterday spoke about provincial procurement. I think those 3 issues are key to improving agriculture in this province. And I agree that Necha Macadamia Nuts represents a very good example of success, and there are a few other examples of partnership that should be replicated in this province, and I know you're trying to do that. But your reference to the chicory industry malaise is important, and we should be very wary that future partnerships and future commodity organizations aren't afflicted with the same problems. Nestle didn't wake up recently and discover that Eastern Cape chicory has got wonderful contents. No, it's the financial reality of a devaluing rand that has made Nestle very interested in locally produced chicory. And we need to understand that we need to look after local markets and local commodities, and that if we don't do that, when the rand strengthens again, we'll go and purchase elsewhere and those industries will collapse. My question, MEC, is about Kangela. Kangela has been controversial since inception. And this week we heard that charges against all the people implicated in the controversy at Kangela have been withdrawn and dropped. And this is a concern to all of us because money was wasted there. But there are 3 other citrus projects in the Kirkwood or Sundays River Valley that are really successful. They're in partnership with government, and they're in partnership with the Sundays River Citrus Cooperative and with the beneficiaries of land reform. Those 3 projects are going ahead. In fact, one of them has even acquired a neighboring farm for 10 million rand that they're paying for themselves. They're an example of success. Kangela is not an example of success. They have a partnership with a company called SAFE. It's from outside of this province. It's not a local organization. There's absolutely no benefit to the people of Kangela with their partnership with SAFE. SAFE is the unilateral benefactor of that engagement. I'd like to know, MEC, what are we going to do about partnerships that don't benefit this province and the people that live therein and the people who get money from the government? Will we simply continue allowing failure to carry on, or will we replace failure with successful models of partnership?
Morning, ABC. I actually have 2 questions. The first one is on for farmers generally, not just in the Eastern Cape. I know for the irrigation systems, they generally use petrol and diesel. And I know it's part of your department's mandate to now start incorporating renewable resources. So I just want to find out, is it possible to have a rebate program for when farmers say use now solar panels instead of now fossil fuels to power their irrigation systems? So just to promote the uptake, as in a rebate program similar to what the DOE and formerly Eskom had for solar water heaters for irrigation systems. And then the second question is on the value chain. I know in the Eastern Cape, what happened is that we ended up being net importers of agri-produce instead of exporting, and we were importing from the Western Cape as well as up north, Gauteng, and probably even Limpopo. And the problem was not on the production level, which is where you're pumping most of the money in, as per your speech yesterday. The problem lies within the value chain, i.e. getting goods from the producers to the end users, but within the province. As in, what is in place to address now that sort of middle part of the value chain? Thank you.
Number 3 is right there, over there.
Thank you very much, Bongani. And also I appreciate the MEC for his presentation and also for encouraging people to be business owners and not be employees. I am Vela Vichima. I am from Tsolo. I'm excited about what you said about Tsolo also. 1, you are helping people to grow, to be business people, but I'm looking at the production, that is the supply and demand. Because on one end, I can sense that there is going to be overproduction. For an example, last week I was in Joburg to showcase my system in Galaga Convention Center, a marketing system, where one of the people who attended, business owners, she called me and said, Viola, I've got a problem because we are many who are producing chickens and I can't sell my chickens. So it is very expensive to maintain them. And I don't have a market because of the overproduction. I haven't heard something about marketing assistance as to the business people are going to produce their products or whatever, whether it's animals or whether it's plants, that plant produce. But now, how is it going? How are all these products to reach the market? Like, for instance, I'm asking because I have got a marketing system that can help small businesses to grow their businesses. and that can also help them to make profits. I just want to know as to how I can work with the department so that I can be able to assist them, to assist these small businesses and also the cooperatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bongani. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stand. I'm in a wheelchair. My name is Phumla Khasmeni. I'm a farmer at Frankfurt, a poultry farmer. MEC, I don't underestimate your passion about agriculture. I don't underestimate your passion about development. I just don't. I know you're passionate about it. As a result, I know that I felt excitement when I saw a young man like you being allocated for this department. And I've seen your strides in the other sections. I've seen them. But unfortunately, MEC, you've forgotten totally about me. There's not even a sentence about poultry in your policy speech. There's not even a sentence today. I woke up at 4 o'clock to be here because I so wanted long ago to be in the same room as you. So Bongani noticing us that you are going to be here today. I said, this is just one opportunity I'm not going to miss to meet that young man that is passionate about agriculture. And you see, I'm a farmer at Frankfurt. I'm doing poultry, and I'm really doing poultry. Zolo is going to visit my farm with their students, meaning that somebody knows that I'm doing something. I'm producing lots of chickens. Pick n Pay has been patiently waiting for me to supply them with poultry. Yesterday I was with Pick n Pay. SPAR has been patiently waiting, but I don't have an abattoir. I've been knocking till my fingers got sore. I see today as an opportunity for your people to go and visit my farm. I'm not only selling to the general public, but I am buying to the small producer that produces 50 chickens, 100, 200, because I sometimes run out of stock. And that man who's doing 100 doesn't have anywhere to sell. But because I've got a very good marketing strategy, I get sold out. Then I buy. I don't buy at 40 rands and sell at 50 rands. I don't buy. I simply take from them, deliver to my client, give them the whole amount, meaning that I'm doing development in my wheelchair. There's not a single abattoir, not a single one that is prepared to help me slaughter at a slaughtering with a slaughtering fee. They say we must have our own abattoirs. I've paid 90,000 already for EIA. I'm busy with environmental affairs. But who's going to fund my abattoir? I'm going to have my EIA approved, but nobody is going to fund my abattoir because there's no way, nobody's listening. What about the small chicken producers who are going to be supplying my abattoir? In that way, making it a point that we're doing as cooperatives in India are doing. Because cooperatives in India, milk, 2 liters of milk, the other liter goes to the secondary co-op, the other liter stays at home for consumption. Meaning that if you've got a farmer that's producing 100, he's going to take 5 for consumption. 95 is sent to the abattoir. I give a check back. I'm going to develop lots of farmers as I am doing now, taking, not buying, taking from them. I take 100 and I deliver 5,000. But the delivery costs are mine because I don't have to let down that client of mine. So I said, Nyameka, are you ready? Yes, I'll be ready on a certain date. That matter, you are ready. So are you ready? I'm doing it. But why can't I get assistance? And what about the other poultry farmers? The poultry industry is not being taken seriously. Yet protein, apart from an egg, apart from milk, it's everybody here. Half of this house last night had chicken for their supper. Why are we quiet in this province about poultry? Because poultry is the closest product to the communities. We might have red meat, but it comes after poultry. Please, Mr. Minister, I will be here again in 2016. I don't want to be asking this same question. When will poultry be taken seriously? Thank you.
Enkosi kakhulu mphathiswa, nami ndingomnye wabakuncomayo kakhulu ngomsebenzi wakho omhle. Alright, ndilapha mphathiswa. Ndingomnye wabantu abakuncoma kakhulu ngomsebenzi wakho omhle. Ndiyafuna ukuthi noko le urbanization enye nje ye-contributing factors. Kodwa ke uba ngabe awuqaphela apha ngaphakathi inland areas eze-Eastern Cape kudry kakhulu, kunzima uproducer phana. Ndiyafuna ukuthi ungakuphosiliso noko kwela cala uqala nje kule area uqala apha eKatikati ubheka pha, it's very dry and it's difficult and it's very costly to produce in those areas. So if you look at the Bill of Lucerne, for example, currently if you go to Queenstown now, you'll get it for 81 rands. It's going to be 120 rands around about August, September. Yes. So every time those people are trying hard, but it's very difficult. Thanks.
We'll allow the MEC and his team to respond.
Thank you very much. Facilitator, the hard questions, I will direct them to serious people here. But let me just attempt to concur and agree with Honorable Trolip that we have since also realized, Honorable Member, that SAFE as a partner there is not helping. Definitely sure the transparency on their financial is not also up to scratch. And hence now we thought it is important that we need, of course, also there are losses there, whilst the farm itself or the sector itself there is doing good. That is what we've already agreed. But what we intend to do, because Kangela Trust owns 49% and ECRDA owns 51%, we are considering in partnership, of course, with the Sundays River Citrus Company, who are helping other land reform beneficiaries in that area to reconsider a new partnership in that kind of arrangement. Definitely sure we are going to work on that one. We're going to review the contract and with an interest of ensuring that we get a very solid, good partner. On the question of rebate for using this new, let me say, green economy, if I may say, definitely show the policy on economic affairs and the DTI, as she indicated quite well. That's why we are also ensuring that also independent power producers that are there, that are also creating an environment of electricity being produced using either biofuels and other related commodities that can be emerging out of agriculture, such must also be applicable. And I think my learned friends here and technocrats will delve deeper onto what in the agricultural sector can we make as a submission. Because we also encourage even family farmers to also invest in these kinds of new green electricity and green economies and so on, so that we can alleviate the plight that the world is envisaging if we don't create adaptable policies when it comes to environmental changes. The issue of net importers of products from producers to end users, what is happening in between. And I think that's a platform that we want now to engage very seriously, working with commodity groups. Hence, yesterday in the policy speech even contained a particular dedicated paragraph to say we need a well-organized, well-engineered platform of commodities, private sector, banks, as we are going to organize one, and financiers, as well as the end users, the market itself, so that we can address this particular aspect as the province of the Eastern Cape. And I think those solutions will emerge out of that. The supply and demand, the issue of market, what are we going to do? On my own speech on page 21, I think we are trying to address exactly that. We are saying the department has developed a marketing plan to support farmers to sell their produce. And I think for the first time, realizing exactly the same gap, to say, can't we then put a dedicated amount of more than 2.5 million to ensure that we come closer to a lady and that proposal? And what is it that we can have from the primary production capabilities of the province to secondary and tertiary levels? But if you do have your spinach deep down in the dungeons of Elodale, how can a market be aware of the quality of such produce? How can that be known by the outside world? Which retail companies nearby that can take your stock and so forth? And I think we are trying to venture into that space. Already, ma'am, we have tried to respond, but this can never be adequate. But the truth of the matter is that we decided also to package a well-considered marketing plan of the province, working with the farmers, with the cooperatives, with the industry and the sector. 2.5 million, what is it going to do? And I think your inputs surely must value the kind of paragraph that we have here. The poultry issue. Ma'am, thank you very much. The one thing that I can commit is also to visit that farm. And the second issue is to sit down with her. And noba mama nibesayisakute. Uthethe wonke umuntu nambona apho uba kuthe ngco enhlizweni. You also affected my sitting here. And I think we have committed disservice to our advances to ensure that you don't only be a statistics of those that have failed. But your duty is to say, even if there are difficulties experienced, but your own tenacity and stamina is to forge ahead. Definitely sure. My SG here will make a comment. Definitely sure we must come closer to you, and wherever we can give support. You may not be here, but we are part of our own business scheme as a department. Definitely sure we need to provide response to that. We are visiting you very soon, if it needs to be next week.
Thanks very much. Mam Khasmeni Mall and the customer MC. Di mandi ngagqithile nophatha ayigqithile Mam Khasmeni besike sathetha sheme efonini di makasibamba apho sizawusa. Ndikuvile sekuvile kakhulu honestly. Yes, and I'm gonna bless this.
Are there any additions from any of the senior managers? In the absence of any, I will take maybe just 2, 3 pending questions. Pending. Yeah, chairs. And they have to be questions very, very, very short. I haven't taken anyone that side. Call Mama wait. So Tata Pa at the back. That's the third one. Okay. Start up again. Then start a Pa. Then so Tata Pa ikone.
Ngosi mhlala phambili. Ngosi Mtungwa ngepolice speech ecacile. Mhlala phambili uMtungwa uthetha ngefarming afuna uyenza fashionable kubantu abatsha. If my memory serves me well nawe ku-dispatch yakho umzekelo wakwaveza umuntu omtsha orun ipiggery farm yakhe ocaba une-problems ze-space ze-infrastructure generally nophathi wakuba i-community kuba zinuke ezakho kanti imandi inyama yakho egqibeleni, you know. So ke ngoku into endifuna uyazi uba njeba nifuna uyenza fashionable nje le farming especially for young people, nizaba assista njani kuba yonke lento box down to one issue funding? Uba kukho mali uzaba attracta njani abantu babe interested more kwinto ezinjalo? Ngesizathu sokumzekelo onothenda bazigezele young farmers because ithenda yafumaneka mlungu corruption ngomvulo ibe ivalile olwesine but young people are always facing difficult constraints in terms of funding. If bureaucracy is there, you'll run around. You need 10 million to start this picker project, for example. So assist kanjani singabantu abatsha. Eyokugqibela comment mlungu qala. In future siyaz appreciate izinto zezo MEC available ne dispatch. Kodwa dispatch iyafika napha kuqumbu kuyafuneka nje ngesonto napha abantu ne breakfast meetings ngiqinisekile uma mzangu apha ebengahaleli udibana no MEC xa ubethwe transport yozofika apha kukude apha. Enkosi.
Enkosi mhlali ngaphambili. Umbuzo wami mphathiswa oqala enkosi kakhulu ngeinput yakho. Yeyiphi indlela esinokwazi uyisebenzisa mphathiswa enokwenza into yokuba iproduce ezi-agricultural zingapoachwa ziphume apha kwi-country zingakhange zibone into yobana zisuka ndawoni. Into ebangela uba nditsho mphathiswa ndiya-exporta uboya. Kodwa bukhona uboya obuphuma ngenye indlela apha ekhantrini ezawubangela ivalue yeproduce yase-South Africa kwi-wool ithathwe njengento engento kwi-world. Then loo nto leyo isibethe ke ngoku kakhulu kwi-production yethu because i-Eastern Cape yenye indawo ezivelisa kakhulu uboya bu-exporte kumazwe ngaphandle. Lastly, indlela enosincedisa ke ngokumphathiswa kwicala lomhlaba. Akhona amafama akwi-communal areas ekufuneka wona i-numbers zemfuyo yawo ingapha kokuqonda afanele uba makafumane i-farms. Ndiyacinga ke mphathiswa yeyiphi indlela enosincedisa apho. Enkosi kakhulu.
Enkosi MEC. Igama lami ndingumthuluzi Lipitlo Mzamdlalo. I stand here representing the South African National Military Veterans Association, Eastern Cape. First and foremost, I would like to express my sincere appreciation and thanks to you, MEC, for your willingness and commitment to advance our province in relation to agro-industrial development. In December 2011, our president, or the president of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, signed the Military Veterans Act, which speaks to the needs of the military veterans, which by the Statute of South Africa, it is a law which needs to be adhered to. Later on, he gave instructions to all the government departments, state-owned enterprises, parcels, district and local municipalities, that they must give a helping hand to the military veterans in terms of jobs and business opportunities. Now the question is, how far has you gone yourself and your department in terms of assisting the military veterans when it comes to, or in terms of the policy formulation and the programs in the space of agriculture for the military veterans? Engos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What are we going to do with young people? That's a long and short of the question. If we want agriculture to be fashionable, what kind of policy response directly responding and corresponding to that kind of requirement? One, young people must be there first and foremost, and they are there. We agree. But at times is not the problem, facilitator. The problem is to understand the techniques of running an agribusiness and agri-sector. If you are not sufficiently and adequately addressed when it comes to agricultural skill, you may be given seeds and plants which you may not know which soil such must be tilted. the types of soil, you don't know the market ready for you, you don't know how to grow it, you miscalculated also the risk, either because of the poor soils, irrigation, and counting the time of making that seed to germinate to the level where you can take it to the market. To us, what is creating a platform and foundation of a farmer is acquired skill. That must also tells you how much your business case will cost. Therefore, we want to take the two together. If you speak about 10 million piggery, that's too huge of a program. And you must create the whole infrastructure to give support to that intention. The issue of feed, the kind of a breed, the breeders themselves and so forth. Do you have abattoirs for that? And all of that has to be worked through in the mind of that particular young person. And I think that's why we decided to increase even the budget for farmer development. Young people themselves are part of that scheme as I'm speaking with you. The second issue is, so to me, assistance, skill, and finance goes together. We just want to see young people in that particular area. We are going to support them. Poaching of agricultural produce. Indeed, there is poaching for everything. You go to the gold sector, you can get this same problem. And definitely sure, the National Wool Growers Association, people are not only poached, but they are just thugs who are prepared to take by force the wool that has been worked through in the sheep shearing sheds of our own rural space. And I think this is a matter that needs to be addressed. I know in the environmental sector, there are Greenpeace or what are they called? But yes, green scorpions, just to protect the species that people tend to take for a black market. And it's something surely that warrant our own well-considered attention as at a provincial level, maybe because of the scale of production of wool. We were not aware that so many can now benefit. And hence there are people sitting in the dark corners waiting for the September period to pass. And that will never go straight to the open market and open bidding processes, as we can see in Port Elizabeth, when these wool and clips and other things are being evaluated. And I'm trying to say it's a matter, my honorable leader there, that we need to take very seriously. And it's a matter that we need to record in this particular session. Agro-industrial development and SAMVA. Of course, in the last few months I've been in office, I've met with veterans from the military sector on issues of aquaculture, on issues of acquiring land for farming and partnership and training. These are the matters that I cannot say in terms of percentages, because what we have said with the Department of Land Reform, in the acquired pieces of land and farms, it will be good that we also consider the former military veterans, whom some of them have been in other countries living through agriculture to sustain the activities in those areas. They've got basic techniques of how this can be done in the aquaculture sector, for instance. Now that we have a policy response to it, I think we will take up the matter with them. They've identified, for instance, certain farms in the province of the Eastern Cape, which I think we are working through with Dr. DLR to ensure that they also receive proper training. They are also adapted to the new conditions of farming techniques and systems, working in partnership with commercial farmers, for which, in my conclusion, I want to thank commercial farmers of the province of the Eastern Cape and their own commodities. Whether you speak of in South Africa, whether you speak of those that are in cropping and various red meat industries and so on, the kind of work and hand they extend is really showing that as the province of the Eastern Cape, we can definitely do more. And that's the partnership that we want to see. And that's the work that we want to walk through so that we can achieve our desired targets.
And can you take two last questions? Yes. We left with 2 minutes. We have to be out of here by past. It's now 28 minutes past. Lusisi, I'm sorry, colleagues. I had already noted two people. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Let's just take these last two.
Mama.
Mama lo
mandikhahlele kwinkosi zezwe lethu, ndikhahlele kumphathiswa, ndingunkosi Nobhongo oyicacadu Traditional Council eMthatha. Ndimele inkosi zeDalingebo region, zingandithumanga zinjalo because sawuthetha ngemihlaba nesupport athe umphathiswa wazikhomitha ngayo. singaba sezilalini mphathiswa soze sedolophini nanini because singabantu bemihlaba. Sinawo at some point sike savisitor indawo for the purposes of learning and sharing. One of the areas we visited, Rustenburg. Bane mines. They are very rich. Inkosi ke ngoku sibayeka abanye abantu because kulapho besitya khona in terms of royalties. Asizude siyothatha ezamanzi sizise eMpunzana, sizise eMqanduli, sizise eCorhana. Sime ngentwenye, sime ngemihlaba. Sime nangezinye izinto ezizi natural resources in terms of isanti kwindawo zethu. Athi siyayazi into kokubana ukuze sibe silwa nendlala funeka sisebenze umhlaba. Funeka sisebenze igusha esemhlabeni, sisebenze inkomo ephaya. Ubuye ezilalini nomama nobusola kangakanani unayo inkukhu. Inkukhu itya umbona. Uphuma umbona uze siswini somuntu. Ala nje apho. Amasimi ke into ecala uba akhona. But ingxaki into kokubana asinayo into yento bana silungisela umhlaba. Igadi zona siyazama uzenza but kufuneka ezinye izinto uzijonge kwiscale esingaphezulu kwegadi. Siphume singene kwigusha. Uyibona into kokubana ikhona i-pilot project engenzeka apho for the benefit of the community kobuboya bezigusha. Sicela ke mhlekazi into kokubana xa sekuthe kwakhona i-proposal esezi-ofisini zenu zaze za-approvwa because ezinye ziya-approvwa by i-MEC bikhona. Just for instance, in my area of jurisdiction, a pilot project for igusha ibi-approviwe salindi implementation. Change administration kwangena umntungwa. Uyibona bayiphelele esithubeni. Mhlambi you are not aware of those things. Siyasensitize ke ngoku into kokubana sikhona and ke ngoku masingabi siprove wrong. Singafilish into kokubana kuzawuthi ukuze umntungwa ayeve kube kuthethe unkosi uBhovlengwe because uyaziwa. Unkosi loBhonga akaziwa so akazumanyelwa. Siyazithola ke mhlekazi into kokubana sicela ube lilizwi nendlebe for everyone. Enkosi.
Mbalele mphathiso. Mandibulisa ngasandleni. Ndincinga khona uba ndithethe umama ubaleke kangakenza kwakhe. Ndiyaxolisa kuloo ndawo. Mphathiswa, ubukhumbula kakuhle bhuti Mlibo. Ndike ndarhwaca amatyheri. But nantsi into ndizayithetha pakutotogwanya. Ophethe ezemihlaba. Sinengxaki mphathiswa. Ngo-1993 kwafunyanwa imihlaba. Anikwa i-amathole apha euniversity. Kodwa wena amathole lo mhlaba uphethe ngokwakho. And then i-community ziyawucela kuwe lo mhlaba. Nantsi ke ingxaki apha ikhoyo. Xana sifuna umhlaba mhlawumbi sithi lo mhlaba sifunela umhlaba amangcwaba ndizumsekelo. Lo mthi funeka setshisa izitrato. Andinoba ivana mphathiswa. Imihlaba iyathathwa belungwini. But akho plans ale mihlaba ihleli nje le mihlaba. Kuhlala i-criminals yokula mihlaba. Like apha eDaketsi abona xa uthetha N6 unyuke eChukuma Clinton sizokweza farm. Akho ndiceba ngasiye esikolweni. Because kule farmers ayazi kule njani. Nantsi ke problem lapha khona. Sake sifandiwe mphathiswa. Uzokuthi ijonge lezo. Sasifandiwe ngo-MEC for MEC utata Nkwenti. Sambhalela simbona sibi-poverty ingakanani na apha South Africa. Abantu bafa msinyane, more especially for HIV and AIDS, because ukutya ngeyanike xa ngokutya umuntu uzawusweleka. Nantsi ingxaki apha ikhoyo mphathiswa wam. Ziyafana izinto apha ama-Joint district le. I-follow up ayenziwa. Sasuka sabhalela ileta ku-national sabhalela ITT. Basuka abantu ku-national bazotrain abantu sa-formation 11 co-ops ze-agriculture. I-poetry khona. Isupporta sisifumane. Uphinde usuke apho umphathiswa wam usiyazondla ufandiwe mhlawumbe plus minus 700,000. Umphathiswa wayesithi sazimakethe izinto nakho umzekelo utata lo. Uthe ngapha emalini uthwele ikhaphetshu uphe buy buckets. Ngoba washo zekisa babantu bayakwazi ukuthi kuphi ngosuku. Sibe ngoku but ngokhokhela ngifophisisela. Ngokuthetha nawo amatanka ayagqabhuka because support abantu abamonitorishayo abekho. More especially extension officers. Uzokuqala umonitorishe yapha kwashi. Uhlelo extension officer benza ntoni kwezi project besifundile because it's a waste of money. Enkosi Mphathiswa.
Mandiqala apha ekugqibeleni. You see, xa uzoqajukela ngamatanki mntana enkosi, so unikwe ifama wafandwa, noko kuyafuneka sibe nengxoxo ephezulu. Ndiyafuna ukukhuthaza uba lo befuna imali makayazi bebeyifunela ntoni naye kuqala. You see, you can't babysit the sector permanently. But we need to complement and come together at a particular point so that we can see kungayiwa nakomnye umuntu. Mhlawumbi ngobe nifumana ifama nifandwa ninikwa nalamatanga agqabhukayo because there's no extension officer. I-extension officer iye kwenye area engakabi nazo ezi zinto. So I will try to encourage you to come closer to that sector. I-pomegranate program apha ePedi Feel, xa ndifika pha ibulawa inon, millions of friends were invested there because the meetings could not sit. We can't run farming through meetings. So I'm trying to say the time now has come to come together and work with you, and I'm going to visit you. It's good work that we are doing there when it comes to cropping. The second issue, Umama Unobongo, definitely sure, let's take it as you propose it, ma'am. Otherwise, andikayazi kwanto esendiyitshintshile mna ndisaqhuba ngale ndifike khona. Ndiyayi-edisha ivelu kuyo qha siqhube sibheke phambili. Uba bekwi-proposal mayize ngaphambili unless there has been review of such. But as far as I'm concerned, all related farming programs are still reflecting also in our own policy speech. Kuba sijonge nje selective and singularly to your own issue so that we can meet together and talk about it. On the decongestion, the communal areas inherently are not having umhlaba omninzi wokufuya. And we decided in this province, working with Dr. DLR, which is land reform, that in each and every district, there shall have to be a committee that is going to look according to the grade of the stock of the farmer, so that the land reform program of farms bought for those that were landless prioritizes those with a larger stock, so that we conserve the land over overgrazing as well as soil degradation, because abantu abaninzi siyakhula istock bayatofa bayathini ngoku ba conscious but umhlaba wona awukhuli, and we said those people must be prioritized bakwazi ukunikwa ifama bawuhlala kuzo. Then that's a program that we are now entered into. Those district appraisal committees have been established. Thank you.
That brings this business breakfast to an end. Thank you, Mphathiswa, so much for availing your time. Thank you to your management team. Thanks to everyone who attended. To answer you, Mdakwethu, yes, we plan to take this breakfast to your areas. Watch this space. Thank you so much. Bye.